Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello dear students, welcome to another lecture, and in today's class we are going to begin with another grammar topic, the name of which is modals. Now before we get into the details of this grammar topic, it is important for us to understand what exactly is a modal. Now modals are those verbs which are used before ordinary verbs. So they are always used before an ordinary, a normal verb. You know, all the action words that we have, such as eat, play, drink, sleep, dance, all these are what? All these are the verbs. So modals are those verbs that are A, used before ordinary verbs, B, they are used or they talk about or they express permission, possibility, ability, obligation, suggestion, request, and so on. So, what do the modals represent? They represent a permission which is taken or given, possibility for something, your ability, your capability to do something, your obligation, responsibility, duty, a suggestion which is given, a request which is made, and so on. So such expressions are represented with the help of your modal verbs. Now another thing to be kept in mind, words, the most common modals are shall, will, should, would, can, could, might, may, must, and ought to. So these are the most common modals which are used in grammar. Now before we proceed to understanding the usage of each one of them, there are a few things to remember. Now what are those things which are to be remembered? A, modals are always followed by the base form of the verb. What do we mean by base form of a verb? Means the first form of the verb. A modal, for example, can, will always be followed by the first form of the verb, such as play, dance, shout, swim, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, the modals are always followed by the base form or the first form of the verb. Second, modals never change their form. They will never change their forms. Can will always be can in present tense. Could will always be could in past tense. May will always be may. Might will always be might, so on and so forth. For example, when we talk about the other verbs such as dance, play, act, bake, eat, all these are the ordinary verbs and they change their forms according to the tense. Dance can become dances also, it can become danced also, it can become is dancing, was dancing, has danced, and so on and so forth. But the modal verb will never ever change its form. It will always remain the same no matter what. The other thing to be kept in mind, modals are never used with auxiliary verbs such as do, does, and did. So, we avoid using modals with auxiliary verbs such as do, does, and did. And the last one that is to be kept in mind, negative of a modal is formed by adding not. So, how do we make the negative of a modal verb? By adding not. So, can becomes can not, should becomes should not, may becomes may not, will becomes will not, and so on and so forth. So, these are a few things that we need to keep in mind before we begin and we study in detail the topic of modals. Now, let us talk about all the modal verbs in detail one by one. Now, the first modal verb that we are going to discuss about is, rather than introducing you to the modals, I am going to introduce you with the expression and then the modal that we use. If we have to talk about the ability of someone's ability to do something, how able you are in order to do something, what is the modal that we use for that? We use three modals, or we'll talk about only two: can and could. So, the two modals that we use to express somebody's ability to do something, we use the modal can and could. Now, can is used to do something, it is used to indicate the ability to do something. Okay, it talks about something you are capable of doing. For example, if I say I can swim. So, what does this sentence tell us? It tells my ability to swim. I know how to swim. I am able to swim. So, I am going to use the modal can. If I say he can write with both hands. Again, this is somebody's brilliant ability. If somebody can write with both the hands, then this expresses their ability to do something. If I give you another example, we can dance very well. Again, what does it say? It talks about our ability to dance, that we can dance well, we have the capability to dance. Now, what and where do we use could? It suggests your ability in the past. Something that you could do earlier. Now you cannot, but in the past something that could be done by you. For example, the same sentences that we've taken. I can swim means that I presently have the ability to swim well. If I write I could swim, it means that presently I can't, but in the past I was a very good swimmer. Similarly, if I say he could write with both hands. Now, what does it say? That presently he can't, but earlier in the past he had the ability to write with both the hands. So, could write. Similarly, if I write, we could dance very well. So, now we can't, but in the past we could. So, can and could are the two modals that we use to talk about the ability of a person, where can is used to talk about your present capabilities, could is used to talk about something that you could do in the past. Okay. Now, the second expression is obligation or advice or suggestion. So, if you are giving an advice to someone, if you are giving a suggestion to someone, if you are showing somebody your obligation, your responsibilities, what are the modals that we can use? Should, must, and ought to. Now, these are the three modals that we use to talk about the obligation, advice, or suggestion which is given to someone. Where do we use should now? Should is used to make a suggestion or to give an advice. So, if you are giving an advice to someone, if you are making a suggestion to someone, what do we use? We use the modal should. For example, we should follow the traffic rules. What is it? Should follow the traffic rules. So, what is it talking about? It is talking about the fact you are giving an advice to everyone. This is a suggestion which you are making to everyone that we should always follow the traffic rules. Similarly, if I say one should never lie. So, one should not lie, we should never speak a lie. This is again an advice, this is again a suggestion that we are making to someone. If we say, we should eat green vegetables. So, again this is an advice, a suggestion that you are making to someone that we should always eat green vegetables. So, this is how we use the modal should. Now, let us come to the second one, which is must. Now, where should was an advice that you are giving, just a suggestion that you are making to someone, must is a strong obligation. What does it mean? When you are telling someone to do something at any cost, you have no other way, you have to do it. So that strong obligation, that strong sense of responsibility is reflected through the modal must. For example, you must help those in need. So those who are in need of any sort, they must be helped by you. You know, you do not have any other option. You just have to help them. Similarly, if I say, for example, soldiers must obey the orders of their officers, let's say. So the soldiers have to follow the orders of their seniors, their officers, and thus we use must, that they have no other option. So strong obligation, and I can also say something which is compulsion. Something which you are telling the other person to do, that is compulsory for him or her, you know, something he or she does not have an option to run away from. For example, if I say, you must complete your homework by evening. Now, I could have spoken this sentence using should also. I could have said, you should complete your homework by evening. Now, had I said should, then that would have simply meant that I am giving a suggestion to the other person to complete the homework by evening. But the moment I used must, that means that I am making it compulsory for the other person to complete the homework by evening. So, should is simply a suggestion that you are giving, while must means something that you are making compulsory for the other person. Fine. The last one is ought to. Now, ought to conveys a sense of moral duty. A sense of moral duty. What do we mean by that? Something that we should morally do. You know, something which is morally correct. Something which is telling us about our duties, about our responsibilities. For example, you ought to plant trees to save the environment. So, what am I talking about here? The importance of planting trees so that the environment is saved. So, here this is everybody's moral duty, everybody's moral responsibility to plant trees so that the environment is greener and it is fresher. Next, if I give you an example, you ought to avoid jumping the red light. Again, not jumping the red light, following the traffic rules is again something which is very important and morally correct for each one of us to do. So, ought to is used to talk about something which is morally sound, which is morally correct. So, three modal verbs that we use to talk about some obligation, some suggestion, some advice are should, must and ought to. Should is used to make a suggestion or an advice to something, whereas must is a compulsion, something that you are making necessary. I can also write it is necessary for you to do. For that we use must, wherein you have no other option to escape. And the last one we had was ought to. Ought to is a modal that we use to talk about something which is to be done morally, something which is morally sound, something which is morally correct. Now the next list is, the next thing to express is permission. Whether to give permission or to take permission from someone. Now there are three modals again that are used to talk about permission. Can, could and may. Now these are the three modals that are used to talk about permission. Let us talk about can first. Can suggests a permission which is less formal than may. So I can say that may, let us first talk about may, then we'd be able to compare it with can. So it suggests permission which is formal and polite. So something which is formal and something which is very polite in nature. By formal, I mean when you are taking a permission from somebody who's elder to you in age as well as in position. If you are seeking permission from your teachers seeking permission from their principals, the employees taking permission from their bosses, and so on and so forth. So for such permissions which are very formal and very polite, we use the modal may. For example, may I drink water? This is usually the permission that the teachers, are habitual of listening to. The students ask their teachers if they can drink water, and since it is a very formal and a polite permission, that is why we use may. Second, if I say, may I drive your car today? So if I say that may I drive your car today, this is the permission that I am taking. Again, if I am taking a permission which is polite and formal, I use may. And next, if I say may I have a look at your paper? Question mark. So every time you are taking a permission from someone in a polite and formal manner, we use the modal verb may. On the other hand, can again suggests permission, but it is less formal than may. So we can say that can is an informal way of taking permission. So can is an informal way, something that you can use with people of your age, people who are younger than you. For example, I can say, can I use your pen? Now, the moment can comes into picture, that entire, visual of being polite and formal altogether disappears. So, when I am using the modal can, that clearly means that I am talking to somebody who's either of my age or who's younger to me, or somebody I don't have to be formal with, okay. If supposingly I say, can I get the remote? Or can I eat your lunch. So these are all what? Can is used to again take permission, but it is informal in nature. It is not polite as may is. So can and may we've discussed. Let us move on to could now. Now could suggests permission again, since we are talking about permission here. So it suggests permission in the past. So something that was done earlier, something that was, a permission for something that was done earlier. For example, if I say, if I say, he told me I could use his pen. So he had given me the permission that I could use his pen. The permission to use his pen was given in the past. For another example, if I say, I could drive his car if he asked me to. So if he would ask me, I could really drive his car. So again, permission, we use three modals: can, could and may. May is used to give a permission in a very polite, in a very formal manner, whereas can is an informal way of giving permission. And then could talks about a permission which was or which could be given in the past. So can and may are present while could is past. Another one is, the next expression is possibility. How strong are the chances of something to happen? How strong are the chances for something to take place? Now there are four modals that we can use to talk about possibility. We have can, could, may and might. So can, could, may, might. These are the four modals that are used to talk about something which you are expressing the possibility of. For example, if I say, let us first talk about may. If I say, for instance, this indicates a possibility which is stronger than might. We can also say that there is a good possibility of something to happen. We use may for that. So may is used to talk about the possibility of something which is stronger than might. For example, if I say, it may rain today. This is what? This is expressing the possibility of rain. So, it may rain today. It means that there is a good possibility of rainfall. If I say, it may snow at night. So, there is a good possibility for a snowfall at night. On the other hand, as it has been mentioned already, might indicates the weakest possibility for something. So may expresses a good possibility and might expresses a weak possibility. If I say it might rain today, this simply means that there is the only point on the basis of which you are guessing that there is a possibility of rainfall is because there is no sun in the sky. So the sky is not sunny, so you are just assuming that it might rain today, and the possibility of the rainfall is the lowest. Okay, it is actually not worth it. If I give you another example, she might be in the garden. Very weak possibility of her to be found in the garden, we use might. So when the possibility of something to take place is the weakest, we use might. When it is stronger than might, that means it is a good possibility for something to take place, we use may. Now let us talk about can. Now can indicates a general possibility. You know, something which can be spoken by you just generally. There is no prediction or assumption behind it. It is just a very, very general possibility that you are talking about. For example, if I say, I can go to the temple tomorrow. So it is just a general possibility that I can go to the temple tomorrow. Or if I say, I can visit you in the evening. So again, something which is very general, no weak, no strong, a very general possibility for something to happen, that I can visit you in the evening. And the last modal that is used to talk about possibility is could. Now what do we talk about when we use could? It is used when there is a very weak possibility. So you can understand the comparison. Very weak is could, weak is might, may is a good possibility. So when the chances of something to happen are the lowest, we use could. When the chances are a little better, we use might, and when there are good chances of something to happen, we use may. For example, she could join us for the meeting. So very, very weak chances of her joining us for the meeting. If I say, she could be injured. Again, very strong, very weak possibility of her being injured. So, you know, this is the hierarchy that we follow. When the chances of something to take place are very weak, we use could. When they are better, we use might, and when they are good, we use may. It could rain today means the chances of rainfall are less than 10%. It might rain today means it ranges from somewhere, ranges in between 20 to 50 to 60%. So there might be a rainfall. And when I say it may rain today, that means the chances of rainfall are good. 80 to 90% chances are there for the rainfall to happen. So this is how we use could, may and could, might and may. Now the next thing that we want to teach you is the use of will and shall. The only thing to keep in mind, we use shall is used with I and we and with all the rest of the pronouns. Whatever are the leftover pronouns, he, she, it, you, they. So with I and we use shall, and with you, he, she, it, they, we use will. And both shall and we are used to suggest a promise. We use will and shall to talk about the promise of something. For example, if I say, I shall help you with your project. So what does it mean? I am promising you, this is my intention, this is my willingness that I am going to help you with my project. If I say you or he will buy his father a new car. So this is what? This is the intention, something that he wishes to do, to buy his father a new car. If I say, I shall help you in every situation. This is again what? This is my intention, my desire that I'm going to help you in every situation. So, we use will and shall when we talk about a promise. So, very quickly we are going to recap all that we have learned. Now, can, the modal can is used to talk about the ability of something, the permission which is given to someone in a less formal manner, something which is very, general possibility is expressed with the help of can, and a request is made with the help of can. Then we come to could. Could is again used to talk about your past ability, something you could do in the past. Permission, a very weak possibility as well as a polite request. Then we come to may. May is talks about a formal request. It talks about a possibility which is good, a good possibility for something to happen, and a wish that you are expressing for something. Might is used to talk about a weak possibility and something that might take place in the future. Then we talk about should. Should is used for something which is an advice or a suggestion. Must is used for something which is a necessity, something which is an obligation. Then would is the past tense of will. Will, we have just learnt will and shall. The past tense of will is would, and the past tense of shall is should. So the usage remains the same. They are talking about a promise that you make to someone, your desires, your intentions that you express for someone. If those promises are made in the present, we use will or shall, and if those promises were made in the past, we use would or should. And with this, my dear students, we come to the end of this grammar topic, modals. I hope that the topic is very much clear to you. So, I will see you all now in my next lecture. Thank you.